Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Snakebite. I am James Simpson. This is Carl Van Gelder. Before you ask, yes, I did get a haircut, and the Mocs are cooking. All that and more in today's Snakebite. Roll that intro.
In the college world of sports, we all know what March is known for, the madness. And for your Mocs men's basketball team, they definitely made some noise in the South Region bracket. The South Region bracket has been played out in a familiar location for the Mocs, the home of Nova Southeastern 𝙏𝙃𝙀 Arena in Fort Lauderdale. The Mocs started off the tourney with the matchup against the 6th-seeded Clark Atlanta back on Saturday in what would prove to be a back-and-forth matchup. There were 9 lead changes in this contest, with the Mocs' top formers coming to play. Both Alex Steen and Nicole Rope recorded double-doubles. Steen had 17 points and 12 boards, while Nicole scored 11 to pair with a whopping 16 rebounds. Luke Anderson and Dominic Denny and Erickson Bands also found themselves in double figures as the Mocs moved on, defeating Clark Atlanta 80-72. James, that set them up for a matchup on Sunday against the number 2 seed in the region, West Georgia, number 13 in the country coming into then. What happened?
Yeah, just like that first game, the second one was a nail-biter. In the matchup between the 2 and 3 seeds, neither led by double digits at any point in the contest. It was a game defined by the controlling of possessions. Both teams had 9 turnovers over the 45 minutes of action. But let's get back to how this one went for 45. After trailing by 2 at the half, the Wolves led by 8 with just over 7 minutes to go, but the Mocs went to work. They quickly chipped away at the lead, shooting 50% from the field in the second half. And despite the pressure, the Mocs still found themselves down 2 with under a minute to go. Clutch free throws, though, by Dominic Denny and then Erickson Bonds tied this thing up, forcing OT. And in OT, the Mocs dominated because of a key factor. They stayed out of foul trouble in the second half, unlike West Georgia, which allowed the Mocs to go 6 for 7 from the charity stripe in overtime, all while adding 3 field goals en route to upsetting the West Georgia Wolves 93-87 and advancing to the Sweet 16. Nicole Rope once again had a monster game, putting up 24 points and 11 boards. Dom Denny and Luke Anderson had 19 points, both with Dom adding 7 assists. And after the game, head coach Mike Donnelly was in a good mood. What a great win for our program. Can't say enough about our competitiveness tonight. One more to go, end quote. And Carl, one more to go indeed. The South Region Championship. The Mocs will match up against a familiar foe, SSC foe, defending national championship, number 1 Nova Southeastern Sharks.
And Nova is one of the best teams in the country. They've been ranked in the top of the country all year, and they showed why in their last matchup against the Mocs. And the Mocs will have their hands full as Embry Riddle fought hard against the Sharks, giving them a run for their money, but the Eagles got into foul trouble. And with that foul trouble, Nova took advantage, beating them by 8 points and setting up this regional final. And the Mocs fell short in that one after a tough battle early against Nova before the Sharks separated. Nova proved why they're the number 1 team in the country, and the Mocs will look to learn from that loss as they regroup going into next year. Well, they'll have some key players returning, one of them being Jaden Booth. Make sure to keep an eye on them over this offseason and going into the start of next year, where they'll look to bounce back.
We'll now turn our attention to the swimming pool, where the Mocs had representatives from both teams competing at the National Championship swim meet last week. We'll get the headline out of the way. Kyle Micallef took gold in the 50 free with a time of 19.28 seconds. Set a conference and school record. Carl, you were able to sit down with him when he got home from the meet.
I'm Carl Van Gelder here with FSC TV, and I'm here with the national champion, Kyle Micallef. Kyle, national champion now, how does it feel?
Yeah, it's great. Obviously, you train all year. This is my 4th year, so 4 years here training really hard. You go to NCAAs to win. Everyone wants to win. It's all everyone's there for. So to be able to come away as a champion is pretty amazing. So.
And a lot of hard work going into that, and you've placed well throughout your years here, 22-time All-American. What do you think really helped you get over the hump to become a national champion?
Yeah, I think altering your training a little bit, changing a few things, focusing on like a lot more of the details. I mean, the 50s it's a fast event, so everything has to go right, and basically just training to practice doing everything right, and then in the race getting it all perfect, which it hadn't really happened until that race, and I was just able to do it at the right race at the right time, and yeah, it paid off. So.
And Kyle, you mentioned your 4 years here. What's your favorite moment outside of obviously winning the national championship as a mock?
Yeah, lots of memories. I would say conference champions 2 years ago. Some great relay performances at conference and individuals to win at conference. This pretty good, and then yeah, relays at nationals. Just hanging around with the guys. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kyle, and congrats on being the 28th national champion here at Florida Southern.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Back to you guys.
And that wasn't the only good news, as a team of Brandon Wilson, Ludwig Mueller, Nino Villalone, and Micallef set a new program and SSC record in the 200 medley relay, good for a 6th place finish. Wilson, Micallef, Villalone, and Cameron Lai Harris would double back for a 4th place finish in the 200 free relay. The men competed really well overall, finished 13th as a team. And on the women's side, a team of Tegan Micallef, Alize Pelletier, Allie Brinton, and Jazzy Hoffman set a new program record in the 400 medley relay, good for 10th overall. And the next day, Pelletier set a new program record in the 100 breast. The women ended in 19th place overall. And the Sunshine State Conference represented so well at the National Swim Meet. The University of Tampa Spartans won the men's meet, and Nova Southeastern Women's Sharks won the women's meet. Great season for the best swim conference in the nation.
And the Mocs beach volleyball team continues to impress with an amazing performance this past weekend. The Sandy Mocs showed up and showed out with a gritty 3-2 win over Stevenson University and a 4-1 win over Palm Beach State College for Senior Day. Senior Sarah Crocker and her partner Reagan Carlton had an excellent game with a strong defense and consistent offense to sweep their opponents in just 2 sets. Our very own Ari Rivera caught up with Crocker after the match to get some insight.
So you guys have had obviously an amazing start to the season. So just talk to me a little bit about what that means for this team.
I think we've obviously had a great start, and we plan to continue to do great. We have a really competitive team this year, and we all come into every game wanting to win. We want every point. So I think for our team, getting these wins is really rewarding because we put in a lot of work in practices and everything. So yeah.
Awesome. And then going into next week and obviously the games for the rest of the season, how do you guys plan to keep up the momentum of this winning streak going?
I think obviously just keep doing what we're doing. We're working really hard in practice. Like I said, we're practicing a whole lot, lifting in the weight room, all of our things. And like I said, we're super competitive. So I think we're keeping that mindset, holding ourselves to a high standard in that sense, and gonna power through as long as we can.
And the wins don't stop there. On Monday, your Mocs traveled to Tavares to take on Lake Sumter Community College. The Mocs stunned the Blackhawks with a 5-0 sweep, followed by another 4-1 win. Your Mocs moved to 19-1 as they travel to St. Leo on Wednesday, looking to keep the winning momentum going.
Yeah, you mentioned keeping that momentum going. Another team looking to keep that momentum going is the women's lacrosse team. They returned home this past week, are in the midst of a 4-game homestand, which we'll recap the first half of right now, starting with a matchup against Lee University, the Flames, who didn't give the Mocs much trouble at all. Jackie Stoller got the Mocs on the board 15 seconds into the contest, and after Lee tied things up just over a minute later, the Mocs got rolling. They were up 5-2 after 15 minutes and cruised to a 19-10 victory. Stoller recorded 4 goals and 3 assists, while Ellie Griffin, who's back from a little bit of an injury, recorded a hat trick. Multiple Mocs had 2 goal outings, while Mackenzie Gagan earned the win in net. On Saturday, the Mocs played host to the 14th-ranked Bentley University, and once again, the Mocs started off fast. Emma Dudley getting on the board just over a minute into the game. Bentley, however, would show why they are the 14th-ranked team. After back-and-forth scoring, the Mocs were only up 1 after 1. They pulled away from there behind a 4-goal outing from Hannah Hale and a Madison Terre hat trick, and as the Mocs cruised to their second consecutive 9-goal victory, defeating Bentley 17-8 on Senior Day. After the game, our own John Barote caught up with Hannah Hale.
Good afternoon, FSC TV. I'm here with Hannah Hale after a great performance against Bentley University. 4 goals and 1 assist. Tell me, what was going through your head today?
Honestly, I was not expecting to get 4 goals and 1 assist, but shout out to my teammates. They set up every single goal and every assist, so they made me look good, if anything.
This was a great out-of-conference win for the team. what does this mean for the Florida Southern Mocs?
I think this means so much. We had a couple losses previously before this game, so I think this was a really big confidence boost for our team and get us ready to go for conference games starting up soon.
Yes, what aspects of this game do you want to take into our next game against St. Leo University?
I think I want to take in the grit that we played. I thought we had so much effort and so much energy just playing as a team and playing as a unit. I think offense is finally starting to click.
That will close out the non-conference portion of the schedule for the ladies, and they'll open conference play tonight against our neighbors to the north, St. Leo University. That game will be right here at Barron Field with a 6 p.m. start time tonight. And hey, Carl, I really hope to see the stands full, but if our viewers can't make it out to tonight's game, why don't you tell them where they can go?
Let me think about it. FSCMocs.com/live. And the hockey team has stayed alive for a while this year in postseason play, and they had a major matchup this past weekend, defeating Quincy College in the AAU National Semifinals last Tuesday, finding themselves in a matchup with the Miami Hurricanes for the 4th time this season. They split the regular season meetings, and the Hurricanes blanked the Mocs for the College Hockey South Division III Championship, so the Mocs look to get one back at the AAU Nationals. Unfortunately, if you watch the game, it felt like deja vu. The Hurricanes dismantled the Mocs with 6 second-period goals in a championship game to forget. Despite the loss, the Mocs have a lot to be proud of as the team had a strong postseason run and got 2 steps beyond where they did last year. They'll look to get some much-deserved rest this offseason.
Now we'll return to Barron Field after having over a week off. The men's lacrosse team was back in action last night, hosting the 16th-ranked Colorado Mesa University. Just like the women's lacrosse team, non-conference play is wrapping up. That was the last match before getting into conference play. You know, that match did occur after our production time, so we encourage you to go to FSCMocs.com for results for this one. They'll finish the 2-game home stretch with a high noon duel against PBA on Saturday to open conference play.
Softball continued their hectic schedule with 6 games over a 5-day stretch, all of them being doubleheaders against non-conference opponents. They started off this final stretch out of conference with a matchup against Hillsdale College, which was a close one, coming off of 2 close losses to a strong Rollins team and looking for a bounce back against another SSC foe. And that's exactly what Hillsdale did against the Mocs, beating Florida Southern 8-2 and just escaping the Mocs in a 6-5 extra innings victory. Florida Southern then looked ahead towards an up and down Bloomsburg team who the Mocs ended up splitting the series with, in a pair of low-scoring matchups with the Mocs falling 1-3 in the first game and coming out on top 3-2 in the second game of the doubleheader. To wrap up the final games against non-conference opponents, the Mocs took on a floundering Adelphi University team that came into the matchup with a record of 4-8, but having won their last 2. Unfortunately for the Mocs, the Panthers swept them in 2 extremely close games, the first being a nail-biter 1-0 loss where Adelphi got the go-ahead run in the 7th, and the second game of the doubleheader had some more runs with both teams ending the 7th even at 3 and going into extras. Both pitchers continued the battle with neither team scoring a run in the 8th, but once the 9th started, everything changed. The Mocs let 4 huge runs to the Panthers, a hole they couldn't dig themselves out of, losing 3-7 in 9 innings. They'll need to dust themselves off as they are back in action this weekend at home to take on the Tampa Spartans, and will kick off the real season with every matchup being in conference from here on out.
Yeah, and another team that's going to have to dust themselves off from last week is the men's baseball team. I'll be honest here, guys, it was a week to forget. Last Wednesday, they took on the 10th-ranked Wayne State University Warriors. It was not a fun night for the Mocs. They dropped that one with a score of 19-3. But they looked forward to their weekend road series. They took on the University of West Georgia. They had a doubleheader on Saturday, a single game on Sunday. They dropped the first game of the doubleheader in a back-and-forth battle, ended the score 5-4. Second game was all West Georgia. They scored 6 runs in the first inning, never looked back. The Mocs tried to cut into that deficit after scoring 3 in the second, but UWG scored 4 more of their own. That one ended 10-3 in 7 innings. The Mocs looked to avoid being swept as they headed into Sunday, but were unable to do so as they lost Game 3, 3-1. They were then back home at Henley Field as they took on Florida Tech in a midweek non-conference matchup. They tried to snap their 5-game losing streak. That one took place after our production time, so for results, you know where to go, FSCMocs.com.
The women's tennis team kicked off action against a tough ranked opponent in number 32 Mississippi College, where the Mocs fell 1-4, where Pacini and Sunjic were the only Mocs to win a match in what was a poor showing for Florida Southern and something they would look to move on from. And that is exactly what they did, flipping the script and winning 4-1 against Indiana University of Pennsylvania, where Piscini showed out, winning in singles and doubles with Sunjic. Florida Southern took care of business as a whole in doubles play, with Rania Schuerman and Jolie Miller pairing up for a match win, along with Kennedy Brown and Kelly Claren. The Mocs return to action against in-conference foe University of Tampa at Tampa after our production time. To find the results, check fscmocs.com.
Last week, we talked about the men's tennis team's hot streak, and over that time since then, they've only continued to turn up the heat. They started off a stretch of 3 straight ranked matchups, including 2 top 5 teams, beginning against number 4 Mississippi College. And what has become business as usual for the Mocs, they handled business in doubles action. They won 2 of the 3 doubles matches with strong performances from 𝙏𝙀 and 𝙏𝙀. What did I say about that matchup? Watch those boys, along with Boscovich and Bronsimo, and continued the strong play into singles action, beating the number 4 team in the country 4-2. They did not have much time to celebrate, though, taking on the number 28th ranked team, Auburn University, at Montgomery the next day. They continued their winning ways against that team, coming out on top 4-1 with strong doubles play from the usual suspects, as well as Mateo Feggi and George Russell. Then the biggest challenge of the stretch faced the Mocs, the number 1 team in the country in the University of Indianapolis. And how do they match up to them, you ask? Phenomenally, winning 4-2 despite losing both doubles matches by taking care of business in singles play with a huge win by Eduardo Melindo to pair with bounce-back play from 𝙏𝙀, Boscovich, and 𝙏𝙀. This was the first ever win over a number 1 team of the country in program history, but was not the end of a long, exciting week of action for the Mocs. In their final game, they took on and wiped the floor with Puerto Rico Rio Piedras as a final cherry on top of what was a sweet week for Mocs tennis. The men will be tested again as they headed to Miami Shores this Saturday to take on the Barry Buccaneers, who, by the way, are the reigning national champions.
The number 25 women's golf team just competed in the Peggy Kirk Bell Memorial at the Orange Tree Golf Club this past week, where the number 24 ranked Lady Mocs placed 7th overall. Margot Bonifay led the way for the Mocs, placing 3rd, with Nina Klug of the Bentley Buccaneers shot a .218 to win the individual title. The Mocs returned to the links Monday and Tuesday at the Barry U Women's Invitational at the Miami Lakes Golf Club in Miami Lakes, Florida. They were tied for 5th as Taylor Zachary led the charge through the first day of competition. Day 2 finished up after our production time, so for full results, check fscmocs.com. And last week, the number 11 ranked men's golf team placed 7th at the Federal Southeastern Collegiate in Valdosta, Georgia. Tyler Mistretta and Dante Rapuso led the charge as they tied for 5th at 3 under par. Number 20 Nova Southeastern edged number 3 Georgia Southwestern for the golf championship, #golf conference. They were back in action this week at the Bobcat Invitational in Eatonville, Georgia. After the first day, the team sat in 6th at 16 over, and redshirt senior Adam Alvarez was tied for 2nd at 2 under par. That tournament finished up yesterday after our production time. For full results, you know where to look.
Both track teams traveled to UNF for what would prove to be a late night to remember. The women competed across a gamut of events, but let's just go over some highlights. Emma Musante placed 4th overall to fall just 2 seconds short of breaking her own school record set 2 weeks ago at the Tampa Spartans Classic. And how about junior Maya Stam having herself a breakout race, running 17:43 to post the 11th fastest time in program history. That's a 23-second PR, by the way. Senior Ellie Fluman rounded out the top 3 5K performers with a time of 18:01. Sophomore Rachel Hockenberry was the top finisher in the 1500 with a time of 5:02, which is a season's best for her. And on the men's side, sophomore stud Anthony Matthew placed 4th overall in the 1500 with a time of 3:53, while freshman Cole Summers nearly broke the 4-minute barrier himself, running 4 flat. Caleb Brady and Dylan Manti opened their steeplechase season in what proved to be some trench warfare against some UNF guys before the 5K commenced, with Giller the Killer placing 3rd with a time of 14:45, while fellow sophomore Chris Colavita rounded out the top 5 overall with a 14:55. The men's 10K went well past midnight as 3 freshmen made their 10K debuts, with graduate seniors Alex Guy and Bryson Yamnitz, as coach Matthew Lavoisier chases a ranked squad in the 10K.
And that's it for this week of Mocs Athletics. A lot to cover, a lot to watch, a lot to talk about. Any sport you want, we got here at Florida Southern, fscmocs.com/live if you want to check any of that out. And if you want to check out more dunks from the basketball team, Akola Rope, He'll be in the Dark Horse Dunker Dunk Contest. Make sure to go on Twitter, vote for him. He can fly high and he can slam it. Hopefully we'll see some of that against Nova, and see you next week.